So we all know that Sandy Brondello has been suspended by the WNBA for a game. A $20,000 fine is not ideal. And you might be saying, "Oh, it's only a $10,000 fine." She got fined and she's missing a game without pay. Let's just say, for argument's sake, she's making $500,000 a year. She's probably not. She is probably making $1 million a year. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it's a $500,000, because I think that's on the massive lower end of WNBA coaches' payments. Let's just say, she's probably getting paid $1 million. Missing one of 40 games is like well over $20,000 that she got fined for, $20,000 that she missed out on, plus the fine. As she lost out on $30,000. And let's be real, the fine probably comes off her net money, or off her gross money, not her net money. I don't know what way the old salary works there. So there's a chance that she could have potentially lost out on $40,000 for making a statement that is a completely normal statement in her country. Like, I'm sorry, it sets a really, really bad precedent that somebody can be suspended for a normal statement in one country, and not like and worst case scenario. I know, obviously, the situation offended Angel Reese, but like, how it can be any more of a punishment than apologize and just know not to say it again in America? Like, that's one of those things where I'm like, that should have been it. But the suspension shows that the WNBA, if they deemed it racist, either they say they have zero tolerance for racism, it means that they have absolutely a massive tolerance for racism. That's only a 1-game suspension. Or if it's not racism, then the fact that it's a suspension at all is completely laughable. Like, it's one of those two things where I'm like, fining her is completely laughable. Punishing Sandy Brondello for making a statement. And by the way, if you don't think it's a common statement, you can Google it, or just type in, if you're looking at the World Cup, messy protected species. They've called Wemby that. They have called Wemby that. And if the thing is, coaches are held to a higher standard than players, they can't be saying anything about players, then every single coach that's been caught on a hot mic calling Caitlin Clark a drama queen or a diva should also be suspended a game, if that is the logic used. So at the end of the day, we know it's a ridiculous thing. And it's gotten to the stage where Temi has come out. And by the way, you better believe Temi was still a teammate of Caitlin Clark. Was not shit-talking Caitlin, but essentially shit-talking all the new fans. Was still currently at that stage a teammate of Caitlin Clark in that Time interview. And she was the only Fever player at that time that was willing to, go out and essentially, I'm not going to say double down, but essentially be part of be part of the hate brigade sent at Caitlin Clark. Let's be very clear. And if you know anything about Temi, she's not going to ever not speak her mind. And it's I don't mind that with Temi. I really don't. It's something I think, if she says something that pisses me off, it is what it is. If she says something I agree with, it is what it is. I'll never necessarily, as long as someone is coming from a good place, I don't think there's ever really a point to to go out of your way to that much criticize them. Not even that much criticize them, to go at them even if you disagree with something they've said. But that being said, Temi, protected species is a figure of speech, and I see nothing suspension worthy in what Sandy Brondello said. Species is the unfortunate and touchy word of this well-known phrase, especially in the US racially charged climate. But if she was saying it about CC, an appropriate comparison or popularity, there would be no outrage. Now would there? Suspension is laughable. And I agree. I agree with what Temi said here. This is laughable. Laughable is the right way to describe this entire situation, because the fact is that it has to go one of two ways. If, you can't punish somebody for fucking up and making a culture mistake. You can't. It would be if, I don't know, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, any context in which two Spanish players could be speaking to each other in Spanish. And the color black could come up. In given any context, the color black could come up. And we all, anyone who knows what that is in Spanish, would know how if that is overheard by a player, it could be deemed as problematic. Let's be very clear. We all know that. We all know how that could be deemed as problematic. Imagine if two Spanish players were on the same team, speaking to each other in Spanish, and I don't know, a random Spanish celebrity is in the crowd. They're talking to each other, laughing, and they point, and someone says, "Where is that other? Where is the ex celebrity?" And they point and say, "See, in the black t-shirt." If they're speaking in Spanish and a player overheard them, it would sound like they've said a slur. Should those players be suspended for speaking Spanish? Because that is the exact same context as this. This is not only a commonly used phrase in Australia, it is a commonly used phrase in this context. Every single place in the world, and ironically, including America at times. If you type in random player that is deemed to have had a favorable whistle in any sport in history, and then type in protected species, they have been called a protected species. It is a commonly used sports phrase. It is a commonly used sports phrase that Angel Reese took major offense to, called Sandy Brondello a clown, and because she tweeted it, the league had to do something. This goes one of two ways. Either she should be kicked out of the league, or there should be no suspension. I'm sorry, you cannot suspend and fine somebody for not understanding what they've said or not understanding any context. Because let's be very clear, by that logic, calling somebody a dog, calling somebody a beast, calling somebody an animal. Like, as a joke, I refer to Kelsey Mitchell as the Roadrunner because she just burns people. Like, she just runs past people. Like, based on the argument the WNBA have set, every single one of those is a finable offense. Every single one of those should be a suspension. And every single one of those, according to the WNBA, and that's the thing where they said it. They basically have to answer this question. Did they deem what Sandy Brondello said was racist? If it was, she should be fired. Simple. If it was, she should be fired on the spot. If it wasn't, why is she suspended? Why is she fined? Why is she punished for saying a phrase? Everyone's like, she's Australian. It's probably not as commonly used in America, but you can see it. Type in any athlete in history followed by protected species onto Twitter, and you will see people calling them that whenever referees give calls their way. It is an extremely commonly used sports phrase. And again, the phrase special whistle is not that commonly used outside of America. She essentially said someone had a special whistle. And now we're seeing people arguing, saying like, saying someone that has a special whistle is wrong. Fucking Aja said that. Angel said that. Every single player in the league is when they're complaining about another player, said, getting calls, they've said they have a special whistle. Everyone said that. So where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line? Like, is saying special whistle ableist, which is what people are now arguing? Or do we let the inmates run the asylum? Like, do we go and say, you know what? Like, we're going to make this we're going to let this league be ran by Twitter. We're going to decide every single suspension and every single big decision. We're going to let the court of public opinion decide everything, because I do believe that that's what they've done. I believe that they have let the court of public opinion decide the fate of their league. I mean that. I believe they have let the court of public opinion decide every single decision they've made. Let's be very clear. They had an investigation last season based on a Twitter user who claimed to be at the Indiana Fever game. A Twitter user who claimed to be at the game, and then when they were asked what section they were in, gave a section that didn't exist, and then they said, oh no, sorry, it was this section. The second section they gave was the media section. It was a section that was sectioned off for the media. I'm sorry, like, the WNBA have now set the worst precedent ever. That if Twitter thinks you've said something wrong, it has to be a suspension. Based on this, I'm sorry, like, how many coaches are going to be suspended for saying certain things? How many coaches, how many players are going to say, are going to be at an issue here? Because, let's be real, everyone compares it to Kurt Miller. Kurt Miller called the player fat. Like, Kurt Miller basically called Liz Cambage fat. That's very different than using a common sports phrase. Because this sets a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous precedent for the league. It does. This sets a dangerous precedent. And yeah, it is. It's one of those things where I'm like, I really don't know. I really don't know what way things are going to pan out. I don't know what way this league is, but they literally let Twitter run the fucking league. It is one of the craziest things I have ever seen. They let Twitter run the fucking league. Like, I'm in shock. Because again, let's be very clear. If the league deemed there is no way where a 1-game suspension and a fine makes any sense for what she said. There's not. Because at the end of the day, it's either racist or it's not. What she said. What Sandy Brondello said is either racist or it's not. And they can't simultaneously say it's problematic. No, it's not. It's either racist or it isn't. There's no kind of sort of, in this context it might be, but she meant it in a different context. And people are like, oh, species can be, equated to calling her a specific animal. I'm like, you're jumping like 5 steps. You're like jumping 5 steps into looking into everything. At the end of the day, it is what it is. People throwing in Caitlin's name. Nobody can ever make a point about the WNBA without mentioning Caitlin's name. Let's be very fucking clear. Temi's not the only person that is guilty of this. Let's be clear. Like there are you can absolutely make the argument I do the same shit. But she's not wrong. Like if this was Caitlin, I know using Caitlin to make a point, people don't like that, but she's not wrong with doing it. She's right. If this is said about Caitlin, it doesn't matter. Why? Because Caitlin was actually insulted. And by the way, that wasn't even an insult to Angel Reese. This was an insult at the refs. She was calling out the refs for this. I mean, Caitlin actually got insulted by Becky Hammon. And again, I don't think Becky Hammon should be punished for calling Caitlin Clark a drama queen. Calling Caitlin Clark a drama queen. Like, it's ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. I'll see you guys.